Hello, welcome. Safe Realty with your host, me, Shannon Cutler. Yeah, I'm having a hard time with these episodes right now with recording these episodes. I know there's tons of information. I mean, the course I teach on this is 3 hours. It could be five or six. There's so many things we could talk about and touch on. But, I know there's those listeners out there that are listening each week, those who are engaging in the Facebook group and who asked me to come speak. But it's podcasting is an interesting animal, and without a ton of engagement, it is hard to want to keep going. So I would really love it if when you're listening to this, if there's any value to you, let me know in social media. All the links are below in the show notes. Comments by sharing this is the best way to let me know that there's value to you, or even leaving a review. And if I don't hear anything, I don't know how to make this a better experience for you and how to help and provide information that is of any value. So today we are going to talk a little bit about cold calling and door knocking. I know it seems really weird, and in this day and age, in the time of social media, where most of our marketing is online, less in person or community events. But there are some markets where it's very, very competitive, and maybe there are far too many agents and not enough business. And so people are trying to be creative as to how to, drum up new business and drum up new clients. So how are you getting your business? I would love to hear back on social media or on comments as to how are you getting clients. I know that if you've been in the business a while, it's probably just on referral and repeat clients. And that is really the bread and butter of people who've been in the business with a solid business for a number of years. But many people do get new clients and do outreach via social media. So there's podcasting, there's Facebook groups, YouTube videos. I have a friend here on the island, and she does YouTube videos and gets a ton of business. And she just provides value about the community and the neighborhoods and the area and the services that she's servicing, and people love it. And that's how she's getting business. So I guess it's a form of cold calling because these are strangers, but it's not actually getting out and door knocking or randomly picking phone numbers. Are you using events, marketing in other ways? I see signs and billboards. I see park benches or things in shopping carts at the grocery store. Blogging, networking, events in the community. Like, I think that's another big one, where people host events and provide something for the community and some value of it. But it sometimes is just about who you know and where they are in their life, and they have a connection and they trust you. And then they're like, okay, who am I thinking of to sell my house or to buy my daughter a house or whatever? It's Shannon, because that's who I'm thinking of. But I have heard, especially the old school agents, this is how they got business. Social media wasn't there. The newspaper came out once a week. We're like going way back. So, and those people that are still in the business, most of them still have the same friggin' profile picture, like real estate picture. I will meet them in person and not have any idea who they are because their photo is 20 to 30 plus years old. Please update your photos for your own sake. One of the first clients I had, it was maybe my second year. I was fairly new to real estate my second year, and I showed up to a showing, and I got out of the car, and the first thing he said to me was like, "Oh, you look like your picture, just like your picture." And I said, "Well, I've only been in the business 2 years, so I hope if it's breaking me down that bad, I don't look anything like my picture in 2 years, man, I need to take a day off." But so cold calling is when you just get on the phone and call people that you don't know for the purpose of potentially getting business from them. Door knocking is the same thing. You go out, you literally knock on the door, and when they open it, you introduce yourself and say, "This is who I am and why I'm here." I don't love this idea. I did it one time only because a friend of mine had dealt with this woman who appeared to have dementia and no family in the area and seemed to probably needing to go to a home or some kind of support in the near future. He said she might be in the business for selling her home. So I went there one day took her a little bakery box of cookies, said who I was, and that I love the neighborhood, and I had clients looking in the neighborhood, and had she ever thought about selling her house? And she literally tossed that box of cookies back at me and told me to get out of uh her yard, that she was never selling this house. She was going to die in this house. And I believed it. And I said, well, you know what? It's a nice place to die in. So if that's what happens to you, then, it's not the worst place you could end up at the end of the day. And she kind of laughed, and we had a bit of a chit chat. And no, I never sold her house, and that's okay. She was very unhappy that I came there, which I don't blame her. It was weird. And I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. One friend of mine who's a marketing expert, she said that one of the single things that we as agents missed are the door hangers or the just sold in your neighborhood mailers. So you see a sign up in your neighborhood, then you see a sold sign, for sale sign, then you see a sold sign on it, and you're like, what did that house sell for? And then you're like, who can I call? I'll call my local friend that's an agent or an agent in the area and find out how much that sold for. Well, there are these mailers or these marketing things that are called just solds, and they come up where, say, I sold that house or I knew what it sold for, and I send a whole bunch of little postcards out in the mail to that neighborhood, and I say, 123 Jones Street just sold for $888. What do you think your house is worth? Give me a call. So that's what those are. So those are supposed to be really, really great. Again, I always am just too lazy to do it, and I should, because it's a very good way to get business in the neighborhood. Even in my own neighborhood, I see for sale signs. I'm like, I know all you people. Like, I'm a real estate agent. Why wouldn't you use me? I'm your neighbor. But it's because if you're not, top of mind, or you're not telling your neighbors this is what the house sold for, they might just kind of forget and call their kid's friend or whatever. Okay. So we're just going to talk a little bit about not really cold calling. If you want to cold call people, that's fine. It's like a telemarketer. You better have something really good to say that's going to not make people's defenses go up and not be annoyed that you're calling. But it's on a safety issue, so I'm not even going to address it. That's up to you if you want to do that. My cold calling in this day and age is through people's social media, DMs, providing value on Facebook groups, that kind of thing. And I don't ask for business. I just provide some value. And if people want to use me as a realtor, they can come to me, because, begging for people's business is not a way that feels good to me and doesn't align with how I do business. But if you do it the right way, it can be very effective. So fly at her if that's what works for you. But I do want to talk about door knocking. And I would love to hear if people actually do it. Please tell me if you do it and what your experience is and what your success is, because I would be really interested in that. I think that if you're going to go out and do this, not cold calling, but the door knocking, cold call door knocking. How about let's call it that, cold call door knocking. That's a tongue twister. So if you're going to do the door knocking, my suggestion is to take something of value with you, so that you don't appear as just, like a used car salesman on somebody's doorstep trying to take them out in a wheelchair, have the wheelchair ready and roll them out of their house. Like maybe a just sold in their neighborhood. Take them like a little postcard that actually has something. And maybe on the back, there's a recipe, maybe not, maybe it's just the information of the just sold. And if they're not there, then you can leave it in their door, and there's something when they arrive home, and it provides them with like, hey, have you heard that the house down the road just sold for $900,000? Maybe your house is worth this or more because it has this or this. Or a small gift, like if it's spring, maybe a packet of seeds. If it's Christmas, I don't know, maybe a small token of cookies or something that's just really small. Most people won't really engage with this type of marketing, so you probably won't go through that many treats. But just keep in mind to maybe provide something when you're there. So if you do this cold call door knocking in people's neighborhoods, I suggest that you go with a partner. Take a partner with you. Safety in numbers. I mean, most of the time, this is like, I always talk in terms of safety, Safe Realty. That's the name of the podcast. So that's why we talk about safety. Most people in their homes are not going to harm you. So it's just a few things on this specific topic that maybe can make you feel more comfortable. And maybe if this is something that you want to do or your managing broker wants you to do, or your team wants you to do, then maybe you don't feel safe doing it. This couple tips perhaps could help you feel a little safer in this way. Take a partner. Go in the daytime. Like, why would you not go in the daytime? That's when you're working anyways. Daytime and good weather. Dress for the weather and dress appropriately for the neighborhood. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. And if you can't go with a partner, maybe you are new, or maybe you bring a new agent with you, they're always happy to find something. People get into real estate and they're like, how do I get business? What do I do? This is potentially a way you could, train them or have a sidekick, have a partner in this endeavor. And if you don't have a partner, at least tell someone where you're going, the neighborhood you're going into, or the block, or if you're going into a condo complex and somebody lets you in the front door and you sneak through and start knocking on the doors, which I'm sure people will be really pissed about. But, or a row housing, subsidized housing, depending on where you're going and what your market is, let somebody know the addresses, where you're going to be, and where you're planning on visiting. And if a homeowner is receptive to your approach and they invite you in for a coffee, or yes, come have a look around, it's not that you have to be suspect of it, but it is, I guess I want to laugh about this, because who's going to invite you in? Very few people will. Maybe you as an agent are sitting there listening to this saying, yeah, they're not ever going to invite me in. They're going to tell me to come back or don't solicit at their house. If they invite you in, are you going to go in? Or what do you say? So there's a couple things you could do if they invite you in their home. At that particular moment, standing there, you may or may be very alarmed and be like, oh my God, okay, and just go in. That's up to you. I wouldn't. I might suggest to them and say, you know what, my partner is just doing that end of the street or that end of the complex, or he's across the parking lot in the townhome area. I'm just going to let him or her know where I am, and I'm coming into your unit. So when they're looking for me, they aren't alarmed. And if they say, oh yeah, that's fine, or they get cagey or weird, you'll get a red flag and you'll know whether or not it's a situation that you need to address or not go in. But if they're like, oh yeah, of course, then you could pretend to let somebody know, or actually send a text or call your office or call your partner, your business partner, your spouse, and let them know where you're going, the address you're going into. You should always know where you are. And if it's a situation and they're like, oh, I was just thinking about selling my house, or I was just going to start to downsize, maybe you could let me know. It might be a good time for you to take a few minutes with that person and set up a future meeting and say, if you're interested in potentially working together, why don't we just set up a time for me to come by for coffee? Then that way, as an agent, you're slowing it down, and just say, I know I surprised you with my visit today. I didn't intend on doing that. There's no pressure, but I would love an opportunity to come back and sit down with you and go through some things, or maybe we could do the outside today, or tell me what you like about your house or your neighborhood today. We'll start with that. And then I could come back with some more information for you at a later date. That's what I would probably do. I mean, if it's a little old lady, maybe you just go in and have a coffee, but you should really assess. And again, in previous episodes, we've talked about listening to our spidey sense or intuition. Do you have any red flags? Is it a guy crawling up from his basement in his, threadbare white tank top with mustard stains on it, drunk AF, and being like, yeah, come on in. Sure, that was a good time to tell you about my wife's a bitch and leaving me. Yeah, let's come in and sell our house. Okay, that might be like, hey, I appreciate you're in a tough spot, sir, but today might not be the best day for me to come in. And I actually told my business partner who's in the neighborhood that I'm not going to go into anybody's house today, but I'd love to leave my card and set up another time to come back and meet with you, maybe on a different day, maybe tomorrow, and you can set that up. But, don't rush into people's house, and especially if they're a little wild. If they got mad or irate, how would you deal with it? I had a neighbor growing up, and he would actually throw things and scream at people if they came in his yard. There were Jehovah's Witnesses that would always come by in the 80s, and they would do lots of door knocking all the time. And he would come out from his front step and he'd start throwing things at them and yell and chase them out of the driveway. It was so obscene. and they were frightened. They were just, doing what they're supposed to be doing for their, belief system. And that is something that I've also seen in real estate, where I've had knocked on a door where there's been a tenant in the property and they're a really unpleasant tenant. They don't want to leave, or their landlord perhaps hasn't treated them properly. And they come out yelling and screaming, "Get off my fucking property." I've had to call the police before because of threats in this manner. So if somebody comes out at you, or if they have dementia, because it's maybe an older person and they're just not in their right state of mind, and they're very mad or angry, or just someone who hates people trying to solicit business, just stay calm. You can probably hear my cat meowing in the background. He wants in, but sorry, I'm not letting you in right now, dude. Yeah, so just stay calm. That's the biggest thing. Stay calm and don't meet their level of anxiety or anger. Just apologize for disturbing them. That wasn't your intention. I won't bother you again. I'm going to head off your property. You won't have to hear from me again. I'm sorry for upsetting you or springing this on you today. I hope I didn't upset you too much. And just stay calm. Walk away slowly. It's like, never turn your back on a wild animal like a bear or a cougar or a dog and run the other direction. This is the same thing. Just stay calm, back away slowly, apologize for disturbing them and upsetting them, and move on. That's really all you need to do with somebody who's mad, irate, or even somebody who is, maybe has some mental illness and has dementia or others. And if you feel that when you leave the property that things went real wild and that person, there was something that was really off, or that person seemed in trouble, then you can always, call the police or a crisis response and find out if there's somebody who can come check on them, or a neighbor, maybe tell a neighbor and say, "Look, I just went to this person's house. This is what happened. Do you know if they have family in the neighborhood or an area that could come check on them? I don't really feel good about what just happened." So those are the kinds of things that I would suggest if you're door knocking. If you listen to the episode from February, it's called "Don't Meet a Murderer." It's about vetting clients. It's the same principles really in this topic, from door knocking to rushing in and sitting down at the coffee table. If this person actually wants to sell their house in this moment that they're standing and talking to you, then if they actually want to sell the house, then tomorrow they're still going to want to sell the house. And if tomorrow they don't want to sell the house, then you don't want to be going in there today anyways. And so it's that if it's legitimate business now, it will also be legitimate business in 5 minutes, in an hour, and tomorrow and the next day. So don't use their panic and rush to get yourself in the door and be in a situation that is unsafe, uncomfortable, that you're not prepared for. This day, you're just prepared to maybe meet a couple people, potentially make a couple appointments, or just get some information to people. They'll stick it in their drawer or on their fridge, or talk to their spouse about it that night, think about it for a few days, and call you back in a week. That's really what these just sold to the door knocking is for. It's not actually for people just to invite you in and sit down at their tables. And if that's your assumption when you walk out the door and head to those people's houses, you're probably going to come across as a bit pushy, and people won't want to work with you anyways. So that, again, is not safety. It's just like humanness 101. You want to build a rapport, and really people love compliments. So it's just about showing up, giving them some information, telling them what you like about their property, asking them questions about themselves, make it about them, and just see if there's any rapport that you can build that will allow you to potentially come and meet them a second time. I've even talked to people out walking and not even door knocking on purpose, and complimenting them on their garden and being like, "It's stunning. I've been seeing your garden for years. It's stunning. Wish I could do this. And are you on the garden tour?" We have a garden tour locally. And they talk about it. They're like, "Oh, we're thinking of selling, but we just have this garden and we don't know what to do." And then I would be like, "Oh, well, I'm sure you've been in the neighborhood a long time and you probably have a real estate agent, but if you don't, like, I am one as well." I've actually gotten clients from that. I've gotten clients from petting dogs on the street near a house, and people, just clicking with them for whatever reason. So don't push this relationship. Don't push this timing if you are door knocking. Just chill out and be friendly. I think that's all I have to say. I've sort of beaten the dead horse, which is a terrible saying because that would just be that's just disgusting. Anyways, I'm sorry for saying that. I'm just on repeat right now. I'm glad I stuck around to get this episode out today. I hope there's some value to you. It is podcasting is an interesting thing to do. I really enjoy it. But I also don't know how my information's being taken or if it's of any value. So I really do appreciate when people reach out to me and give me feedback on what they're hearing, or even ask questions or provide their own information. If anybody has an experience that you'd like to talk about, I would be happy to do an interview on the podcast. It could be anonymous if you choose, but I hope that today has provided some kind of value to you. And please share this with another agent you know, play it at your next office meeting. The more people that have this information, the safer that we can be as agents. I mean, even as people, there's lots of information that I've provided that will help anybody. And I am off to meet a friend for lunch. So I hope everybody has a great week, and I will talk to you soon. Be safe, everyone.